For centuries, we have been told that human ingenuity alone built the wonders that dot our world, monuments that defy comprehension, machines of stone that align with stars with the precision of a surgeon's scalpel. Then, there is the lingering evidence of evolutionary anomalies academia refuses to acknowledge. Yet, there are those, armchair skeptics draped in the thin robes of so-called reason, who insist, with that smug certainty only cultivated by centuries of unquestioned orthodoxy, that all of this is merely the work of primitive humans. They call themselves debunkers. They call themselves rational. But they are utterly and completely wrong. Look first at the Great Pyramid of Giza, that vast immutable monolith rising from the Egyptian sands. Scholars, engineers, and debunkers alike throw around words like ramps or levers as if the casual invocation of Bronze Age tools explains away the impossibility of lifting millions of limestone blocks, each weighing multiple tons with such precision that the base is level to within fractions of an inch over 13 acres. They shrug at the alignment to true north, dismiss the mathematical encodings of pi and phi in its proportions, and nod politely when someone points out the astronomical synchrony with Orion's belt. It is as if the universe itself had arranged these stones in a cosmic joke, and the debunkers are too blind or too fearful to see it. They are in effect priests of the mundane, forcing wonder into the narrow cage of acceptable explanations. But the pyramids are only the beginning. Journey further and the landscape becomes littered with the remnants of human audacity and, according to these gatekeepers, ingenious coincidence. And what about Pumapunku in Bolivia, Saxe woman in Peru, Baalbek in Lebanon, and the megaliths of Stonehenge? Each site presents the same set of questions that conventional archaeology cannot satisfactorily answer. How were multi-ton blocks moved with such impossible precision? How were joints cut so perfectly that no metal can fit between them? And how did cultures separated by continents arrive at such similar feats with no evidence of contact between them? Debunkers dismiss these questions with laughter, citing lost techniques or mythic exaggeration, yet the silence is deafening when asked to demonstrate these methods practically. And what of the texts? For example, the cuneiform tablets of Sumer, the Rigveda of India, the Popol Vuh of the Maya, the Book of Genesis, and the Edfu texts of Egypt. Across cultures and millennia, there exists a litany of sky gods descending from the heavens, riding chariots of fire, teaching civilization its first arts, imparting knowledge of astronomy, agriculture, and geometry. Debunkers, the ever-faithful gatekeepers of orthodoxy, call these myths and laugh at the idea that they could be anything else. Because in their worldview, humans are forever trapped in the known, limited by our primitive ancestors' imaginations. A god descends? Impossible. A being with knowledge of the cosmos imparts instruction? Preposterous. The texts, they insist, are allegory, symbolism, and metaphor. Yet across continents, across millennia, the same motifs repeat: sky descent, advanced knowledge, and star-aligned structures. The debunkers claim it is mere coincidence. But that explanation strains credulity beyond its breaking point, and the debunkers cling to it like a security blanket, refusing to admit that we do not yet understand. Genetics also becomes a battlefield. Modern anthropology presents a paradox that conventional explanations stumble to reconcile. Sudden leaps in human cognitive and social development, gaps in the fossil record, and the enigmatic emergence of symbolic thought, art, and ritual, all compressed into the geological blink of an eye. The debunkers invoke evolution as a universal panacea, tossing the word around as if repetition alone makes it sufficient. We don't have all the intermediate fossils, they admit, but swiftly wave it away with a shrug. They have mastered the art of explaining the inexplicable by refusing to engage with it. And yet, the anomalies persist. Inexplicable leaps in genetic sophistication, patterns in mitochondrial DNA that defy neat linear descent, and cultural bursts that appear globally in near simultaneity. These are not failures of imagination. They are evidence of our ignorance, and still the debunkers insist that our ancestors were simpletons building impossibly precise monuments out of brute force and chance. The arrogance of this worldview is breathtaking. It is an orthodoxy dressed as science, a faith disguised as reason. They demand evidence, yet reject the very questions that evidence seeks to illuminate. They tell us that imagination is dangerous, that to wonder aloud about the sky, to consider the impossible, is heresy. And in their crusade to protect the sanctity of consensus, they have done what true skeptics never do. They have closed minds to possibility, closed minds to wonder, and closed minds to the profound questions that make us human. Let us consider the psychology behind this obstinacy. For a modern debunker, admitting ignorance is an existential threat. They have staked their authority on certainty. They have built careers, reputations, entire institutions on the idea that the past is fully knowable, that every stone, every tablet, every gene has a neat terrestrial explanation. To entertain the possibility that we do not fully understand, that we may have been visited, guided, or inspired by forces beyond our comprehension, would unravel the scaffolding of authority upon which their worldview is built. So they cling to the impossible, they defend it with zeal, and they call it science. Meanwhile, the ancient astronaut theorists, ridiculed as dreamers or charlatans, are simply asking what any reasonable human should ask. How? How could ancient civilizations achieve feats that strain the limits of human ability? How could knowledge appear in disparate places simultaneously with uncanny precision? How could myths across the globe share the same stories, echoing themes that modern humans only dreamed of reproducing with advanced technology? To ask these questions is not blasphemy, it is the essence of curiosity. History will not remember the debunkers kindly. They will be remembered, if at all, as the ones who closed doors of inquiry, who laughed at imagination, and who treated evidence as a threat rather than an invitation. The monuments they ridicule, the texts they dismiss, and the mysteries they scorn, these will endure long after their certainty has crumbled into dust. And when future generations gaze upon the pyramids, Pumapunku, Baalbek, and the codices of ancient civilizations, they will ask the same questions we ask today. They will look at the world not as a simple construct, not as a chain of cause and effect dictated by human hands alone, but as a tapestry woven with threads we do not yet understand. And the debunkers will be nowhere to answer. So let us not bow to the smug, self-appointed arbiters of reason. Let us not pretend that we understand what we do not. Let us look at the impossible and say so. The impossible exists. Let us read the ancient texts, walk among the monuments, examine the mysteries, and honor the fact that human history is far stranger, far richer, and far more wondrous than any gatekeeper dares to admit. For the ancient astronaut theorists, the dreamers, the wanderers, they are not fools. They are the inheritors of a tradition older than science itself, older than civilization, the unyielding insistence that the universe is vast, that knowledge is incomplete, and that the past may hold secrets we are not yet ready to comprehend. And yet, for all the monuments, texts, and anomalies, the debunkers continue their charade. They tell us the ancients were simple, unimaginative, incapable, constrained by bronze tools and earthbound minds. They sneer at the idea of precise astronomy encoded in temples and pyramids, at the inexplicable knowledge of solstices, equinoxes, and planetary cycles at the uncanny alignment of structures with stars, planets, and constellations that modern instruments only recently confirmed. They call it coincidence, they call it myth. But what word could possibly suffice for such precision, such intentionality, such universality of pattern across time and space? Coincidence is a tired explanation, a cop-out, a lazy surrender to the unknown. It is the refuge of those who cannot imagine that the world itself might whisper secrets older than their dogma. Consider the megalithic precision of Pumapunku. Blocks weighing hundreds of tons are cut with edges so perfectly straight that even modern machinery struggles to replicate them. Holes drilled with millimeter accuracy appear in ways we cannot explain given the tools believed to be available. And yet, debunkers, ever eager to defend the fragile edifice of orthodoxy, wave it away as lost human ingenuity. No evidence, no working demonstration, no method has been shown that can replicate these feats at scale, and yet they insist that these civilizations did it. Why? Because the alternative, the recognition of our ignorance, is intolerable. The admission that we do not know is a threat so great that reason itself is sacrificed at the altar of certainty. And what of Baalbek, where stones weighing over 1,000 tons rest in structures whose engineering surpasses any known ancient capability? The Romans may have built atop them, but even they could not have moved these monoliths into position. Modern engineers marvel. Debunkers scold. Humans did it, they say, without so much as a demonstration. They make the impossible mundane. They take wonder and reduce it to a shrug. The texts, too, are a battleground of imagination versus orthodoxy. Consider the Sumerian Anunnaki, deities who descend from the heavens, bestowing knowledge and shaping human civilization. Consider the Vedas, where Vimanas fly through the sky, where celestial beings impart wisdom to humanity. Consider the Maya, who chronicled star maps, astronomical cycles, and gods who walked among men. Debunkers dismiss these accounts as allegory or fantasy, but the repetition across continents, the specificity of astronomical and architectural knowledge, and the coherence of these narratives demand more than dismissal. The sociology of debunking is as revealing as the mysteries themselves. To admit that we do not fully understand human history threatens careers, institutions, and the very authority upon which academia is built. The debunkers are not skeptics, they are sentinels of orthodoxy, defenders of a fragile consensus that demands certainty over inquiry, obedience over curiosity, and closure over wonder. The ancient astronaut theorists, the dreamers, the ones who refuse to accept easy answers, they are not fools. They are visionaries standing at the edge of human understanding, gazing into the impossible, refusing to be shackled by the narrow certainties of the gatekeepers. And one day, long after the debunkers have faded into obscurity, the world may finally see what they have been too timid to acknowledge. That the universe is stranger, richer, and more wondrous than they ever dared imagine. Until that day, let the stones whisper, let the text speak, let the stars align, and let curiosity endure. Let imagination roar in the face of orthodoxy. Let wonder triumph over certainty. And let the debunkers with their fragile faith in the mundane be remembered only as the ones who failed to see the impossible, even when it stood before their very eyes. Because the impossible exists, the questions endure, and curiosity, the most human of traits, will always prevail where certainty fails. Thank you for watching this video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share. It truly makes a difference. As a channel that is over a decade old, the archive has seemingly been shadowed by the algorithm, so we rely on your direct support more than ever. To those of you already supporting through Patreon or as channel members, thank you. You're helping keep this research alive and independent. If you'd like to join us and help preserve forbidden knowledge and ancient truths, check the links in the description. Until next time, stay curious and stay awake.